say, even if it's a competitor now, yeah, we are honest to his role. Right? That always has to be honest in your heart. Good. Now, Carol, yeah, next presentation.
should be looking at business results and customer satisfaction. So we started introducing all these project management models, and we've got tons of them. Let's put scope and quality in the middle. No, no, no. Let's put cost. No, hang on. We can have the agile training. No, we've got this. Wow. So we've got all these different project management models. This is great. We've got our stuff under control, don't we? Excellent. Well, just last month, May 25th, 2013, Universal Credit. Have you heard of Universal Credit? It's one of the
question to Carol.